In today's episode, John and I review the all-new Edison restaurant at Disney Springs.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
You are listening to the Main Street Magic Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy Stein and John Marone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I'm your host, Jeremy Stein, and John will join me in just a moment from a very special remote location. I'm just kidding, he's in his hotel room. Please follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook at MainSTMagic, and check us out on the web at www.mainstmagic.com. This podcast is available anywhere podcasts are, like iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Go ahead and subscribe. While you're there, you might as well leave us a rating and review, right? John and I had a chance to visit the brand new Edison restaurant and bar at Disney Springs the other evening, and we wanted to go ahead and share our thoughts. John shared his thoughts on the Edison, so let's take a listen to his review.
Well, Jeremy, here's my review of the Edison. So, when you walk in, it's a two-story building. Seating upstairs, the middle of it is open. The bottom is more tables. Also, looking at it, we counted 3 bars that you can go to in the restaurant. There is 2 downstairs, and there is also 1 upstairs that you can sit at and be able to get food and drink. The one upstairs is smaller. The 2 downstairs are actually pretty large. Tables are there. If you've followed anything about the Edison, you know that they have food, drink. It's a restaurant till 10 p.m. 10 p.m. it becomes 21 and older. Tables get moved out of the way, and now there's shows that go on. It could be a band. It could be the equivalent of like some cirque entertainers, aerialist, burlesque dancers. So a lot of different things going on, really to draw in that nighttime crowd. So we had reservations for 7 o'clock, not for 7 people, 7 o'clock. We actually had it for 4 people. We were hoping to have some special guests join us, but they weren't in town. So Jeremy and I just went by ourselves. So we were seated immediately. The restaurant was crowded, but I wouldn't say that there was a major line or anything. But also it was a Wednesday night. So talking to the host, she said the weekends have just been crazy, including Saturday nights. They've had some waits into the multi-hours. This is a restaurant that is available to make reservations, not only through the My Disney Experience app, but you can also make reservations on OpenTable. So OpenTable.com. And if you don't know the news, many Disney restaurants have now been added to the OpenTable app. OpenTable is pretty neat because what it allows you to do is every time you get a every time you make a reservation through it, you earn 100 points when you fulfill that reservation. You collect points at 2,500 points. You've earned a $25 restaurant gift card that can be used at a select number of restaurants. So in the old days, it could be used at any restaurant that was on OpenTable. Now it is a select number. If you get the 5,000 points, you get a $50 gift card. There are some restaurants who will put reservations out there for 1,000 points. So you hit a couple of those, and you could end up getting a gift card for someplace, maybe even back home, for you to go out and eat at and earn 20 or 50 bucks off. Here's the big thing that I look at with OpenTable. Remember, if you make a Disney dining reservation through the My Disney Experience app, you are putting down a credit card. If you're not going to attend, you must cancel outside of 24 hours, or you will be charged. And the charge is, if I'm correct, $10 per person. There are a couple high-end restaurants that actually, I believe the penalty might be $25. So OpenTable, there is no 24-hour cancellation notice, and there is no credit card tying it to it. So if you want to book some Disney reservations, you can go to OpenTable, maybe I'm not telling you to cheat the system, but you're at least not up against that 24-hour time clock. So I don't know how many tables they're putting on there, but it is an additional source, and it is usually, for me who travels a lot, that's one of the first places I go when I'm looking for reservations. When we were seated, the first thing is it took a while for us to get somebody to acknowledge us. So we did have a couple servers pass us. No, hey, somebody will be with you in a minute or anything. There was just no conversation at all. And I was to the point where Jeremy was facing more of the entrance. I was facing more of the dining room. And I was just trying to make eye contact with anybody to acknowledge and say, hey, is anybody helping us here? So when our server did come, he took our drink orders, asked what type of waters we want. Tap water's fine. And then for a drink, I got the City of Light. City of Light is Tanqueray gin, bitters, lime, cucumber soda, $14 in a tall glass. And the drink was really good. Something I would get if I go back again. So not overly powerful, not overly sweet at all. So a nice drink. There is also, as you go through they have the Edison signature cocktails, and there's 8 of them on there, and all of them are that $14 range. They also have, you can share an Edison signature cocktail for the table. So this will obviously come in a bigger size. It'll serve 8 to 10, and it's $100, and it's 3 of those 8 cocktails. They have house cocktails. They also, for if you are not somebody who drinks alcohol or children, they do have mocktails, and a couple of them actually sound pretty interesting that, a kid might be willing to try. Just remember that on the mocktails, they're $7. Speaking of children, we did not see any children in the restaurant, I think the whole time we were there. And not that it's not kid-friendly. I did ask if they have a children's menu. They do, and she said that it's really just smaller portions of what's on the real menu. And the real menu is not something that is too big, right? It's not something that is going to, overwhelm you. The drink menu is going to, I won't say it'll overwhelm you, but I'd say 80% or 90% of the menu is actually wines, different bottles of liquor, beers, and then their drinks. The real menu is really only 2 pages. We received the drinks, and right away, obviously, our server asked if we would like an appetizer. He went through and listed a couple that were more popular. One of the ones that actually gets all the attention out on the internet is the bacon hanging from a clothesline. So for $14, you get 4 slices of bacon. The bacon is maple syrup on it, black pepper. It comes on the side with a sour pickle and also some kind of jam. And so the bacon is hanging from a clothespin, from a clothesline, and they set it on your table. He did an excellent job of saying how to describe it. I mean, it was just perfect. And I knew going into it I was going to try it, so we said, sure. So Jeremy and I each had 2 pieces of bacon. The first one that I had I was disappointed. And I was just disappointed because it was hard. It was more like jerky. It wasn't crisp. It wasn't soft. It was just, it was a tough piece. So I powered through that. The second piece that I had was amazing. So if all 4 pieces tasted like the second one I have, they got a hit on their hands. Obviously, we know they have a hit on their hands just because of the presentation. But that second one I had was everything you'd expect from a piece of bacon. I mean, it was soft. There were parts of it that were crisp. It wasn't overly chewy. It had great flavor. You can taste that black pepper. You can taste the maple syrup in it. So I enjoyed half of that. One I didn't, one I did. That was the only appetizer we had. I looked through the dinners, and for the dinners, I asked what they're more known for, what some of the specialties are. He said their prime rib, 28-day aged prime rib, is definitely one of their specialties. You could get a king cut on the bone, 24 ounces for $34. A queen cut, boneless, 18 ounce for $29. He said the Scottish salmon is good. Scottish salmon is $28. You had the lump crab cakes that were $28. And then he also showed that they are the same restaurant chain that owns Morimoto. So the Morimoto ribs are on the Edison menu. And I can't tell you how tempted I was to get those because I think the Morimoto ribs are one of the best dishes you can get anywhere. The ribs are sticky, they're sweet, they're crunchy, they fall off the bone. They're amazing ribs. If you follow our podcast, there we did a review of Morimoto, and we just love the ribs. So I was tempted, but I'm like, well, I'm here. I can go to Morimoto and get the ribs. I don't want to come here and get them. So I went with something else. They had a burger, which was called the Edison for $22, which is a blend of sirloin, short rib, brisket. It had a special type of cheddar on it, onion rings, smoked bacon, house-made pickles, lettuce, tomato, special sauce, and fries for $22. I was really tempted, and seeing some people who got it, it actually seemed like it was pretty good. But I went with the meatloaf. So this is in, he also brought that up as being kind of a specialty. So I'll read the description off the menu. Old-fashioned meatloaf and gravy, bacon-wrapped, spicy ketchup glaze, mashed potatoes, $24. I got it, and it is 2 nice-sized pieces of meatloaf. Came with mashed potatoes. I tried to swap out the mashed potatoes for fries because I saw some people with fries on their plates, and I got to tell you, they looked amazing. We were too late into the process. He did say, hey, I'll bring some out to you. And I said, no, that's okay. These mashed potatoes are great. Don't worry about it. And he's like, no, it's on the house. We'll get them for you. Those fries never showed up. Hopefully it was because I said not to bring them. And no other reason for that. But I didn't need them. The mashed potatoes were really good. They were light. They were fluffy. I enjoyed them. And sometimes with mashed potatoes, if you know how they are, I was just like, I don't know if I want something heavy like that. But they were really good, light. I enjoyed the mashed potatoes. The meatloaf, the description says bacon wrapped. So I've had bacon wrapped meatloaf before, and what is it? Well, you have the meatloaf with you have bacon wrapped around it. So as you cut into it, you get that slice of bacon. Well, I had 2 chunks of meatloaf on the plate with a slice of bacon, and it was one very similar to the clothesline bacon. It was a decent size, but it was just laying across the top of the meatloaf. So I did comment to Jeremy that this should not be called bacon wrapped meatloaf. It should be bacon laying on top of meatloaf. We just felt that probably didn't do as well in the description as bacon wrapped. The bacon was fine, probably because I had already eaten 2 pieces, and this one was covered in gravy and that. I really didn't care as much about it. The meatloaf was actually excellent. So I enjoyed the meatloaf. I enjoyed the mashed potatoes. The gravy, where it says it was spicy, wasn't spicy at all. Now I like spicy. My wife does not. She could eat this if she ate meatloaf. She could eat this without any problem. I skipped the sweets at the end just because we were full, or at least I was, and they had some items that did look good. And so when you're looking at the dessert menu, there are 7 things on it. Your lowest price on it is going to be an ice cream or sherbet for $9, all the way up to a lollipop tree for $18. And the lollipop tree it comes out with a stand, and there are cake pops put all through it. It's definitely, to me, if you see it, it's probably good for a group of 4 or 6. It's probably not as good for a group of 2. But some very interesting dessert items on there. So overall, I will say the Edison is a neat place. I don't know if it's a place I'll rush back to, but I would try it again and give another dish or 2 the option, or maybe hit up an appetizer or salad and try the dessert. So I think that they have some things on the menu that are worthwhile, and it's not something that's going to overwhelm you. And I think the food comes out pretty quickly as well. I still think that with it being newer, they still have some hiccups that they're working through. It's only been open 3 weeks now. And the fact that there's other Edisons throughout the country that are succeeding, I think this one will succeed as well. It's, just to me, some tweaks and fine tuning. So I will give it a rating of try. If I'm in Disney Springs, My first choice is always going to be Morimoto. Art Smith is going to be up there. There are, other restaurants. I'm looking forward to Jose Andres, J-Leo, which, Spanish-influenced tapas. There's plenty of places to choose from, but the Edison would not be a bad choice for you. Give it a try, and it might be something that you enjoy. And it's definitely someplace I do want to go back because I enjoyed the cocktails. I'd like to go back for a date night after 10 o'clock and watch the entertainment, have a drink, because I think that's when the place really kicks in. So, Jeremy, back to you.
Thanks, John. I can pretty much agree with everything you said. I really hope this place can fix some of these bugs and get to where I think it can be, because it'll be a fun spot day or night, as long as they can fix a few of these little items. So I had the Electric Mule as my drink, and it was your standard Moscow Mule, but done very, very well. So coming here for drinks is a definite. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Next time, though, I think John and I will get the Edison signature drink and just prove them wrong that you actually need 8 to 10 people to drink it. That'll show them. John was dead on about the bacon. Now, we'll say our server flat out sold this appetizer. I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but he just described it in a way that I immediately wanted to order it and eat it. So well done there, Scott. I hope you're listening. First, can we just talk about the clothesline, though? Like, I understand this is kind of a hipster type of restaurant, but I would have loved to have been in the meeting when, the owners and chefs and whoever was involved were sitting around and somebody pitched this idea. Hey, let's serve a bacon appetizer and let's hang it from a clothesline. Usually I think they would have just kicked them right out, but sounds like it took on. So the presentation is very, very cool, and that's certainly what they're going for here. They don't want to just slap, a couple pieces of bacon on a plate and serve it to you, so I guess I can get that. But John was dead on with the taste. First one I had as well was very tough. It was more like a bacon jerky. But then the second piece was insanely good. Like, if they could make all 4 pieces taste the way, that each of us had our second piece, I mean, this is a solid appetizer. So again, it's probably something that they can easily tweak and make sure they're getting it right every time. So I would still recommend ordering this. So I had the tuna poke as my meal, even though it's considered an appetizer, or they say, to share. All right, let's just say it was light on the tuna and heavy on the poke. It was a very small bowl, and it comes with a side of fried wonton chips. Chips were great, but the poke was so underwhelming. I mean, there was barely any tuna at all. And, this thing was $16. It's not like it was just some $10 app. So I think next time I'm just going to go ahead and get the Morimoto ribs. John really described the atmosphere and what this place is about. And we didn't stick around for any of the nighttime entertainment, but I imagine this is going to turn into a place that people are really going to want to go to, even if it's just for drinks and appetizers alone. They did have some other good appetizers on the menu. Kind of wish I had checked those out now, but if they can fix some of the food, and I will be very interested to see what the pricing eventually comes down to, and is this going to drive people away? If we look at your typical entree, as John described, the lowest priced one is $22, and that's for a burger. Now, it looked like a very, very good burger, but still, I think you could come here even on a date night, and you're going to easily drop well over $100. So they'll definitely have to make sure that their food is at that level. It was the same thing when we went over to Enzo's Hideaway and we saw their limited menu. You're talking entrees priced in the mid to high 20s. Now, I understand you're paying for atmosphere. You're paying to be at Disney, and some of those prices will be obviously inflated. But I still just wonder, this isn't going to be a place I think you go back to time and time again. I could go to Blaze Pizza. I could go to, a lot of quick services, many sit-downs even time and time again. I'm not sure if that's what this will be, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. I'd like to go maybe check it out for lunch, see what they have there, because they do have some sandwiches that are priced slightly lower. But overall, I don't know at this moment if we would recommend you go rushing in there, but within another month or two, when they've really worked out the kinks, I think this is going to be a fun spot to go to, and I definitely want to check out the nightlife, maybe on one of our upcoming trips where we can sit at one of those 3 bars, grab a drink, and just check out what they have going on as far as nightlife goes. Well, I think that's about all we got for now, so we'll see you real soon.